All right, well, welcome. I just want to spend a bit of time here explaining who I am and why I'm doing this, and a little bit about the whole purpose of this focus group. My name is Jeff Heggie, and I'm a business development coach. And I've been talking to a lot of people about the situation we're in right now with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, and obviously it's had a huge impact on businesses, employees, entrepreneurs, and everyone. And there's a lot of, obviously, it has brought up a lot of negativity in people's minds and a lot of fear and a lot of worry and different things. And for that reason, I actually had started recording a free video series that I'm putting up on my website, jeffheggie.com, to address some of those things and address some of the ways to get in the right mindset and some of the things we can do to move forward with this. A big part of this is an example I use in that video series is, if you've been to the stores and you've been waiting in lines to get in, say at Costco or something, and you get in there and the shelves are empty. Well, when this all comes to an end and all the businesses decide it's time to really ramp up and everyone's racing to get out front again, it's going to be the same thing. We're all going to be getting in line, fighting to get out there. And if you're not at the front of the line, you're going to get there and the shelves are going to be empty. And so what I've been trying to teach people is the things that they need to do to prepare now, because there are still some things that we do have control over, and preparation is one of them. There's a lot of things we've got to mitigate, and there's a lot of things that are out of our control. But at the same time, anytime there's a situation like this, there are people that come out on top. There's a lot of people that can really benefit from the situation, obviously with integrity and honesty, but there are opportunities that are going to present themselves. And so a lot of what I've been talking with people has been with their marketing and the things that they're doing. And so, the Six Figure Coach magazine, it's not my magazine, but it's a magazine I contribute to. And I have an opportunity a lot of times to put case studies in, and I work with a lot of clients where we will go through a case study and use some of the tactics and strategies we use and show them how it can work in their business, and then use those case studies in the articles that we have in the magazine. And in fact, some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today, I actually have an opportunity to be in the Savvy Business magazine this month, April. And it's going to be a feature article talking about some of the things that we're going to talk about today as well. So welcome to our Impact Focus Group. And I just want to make this as best for everyone. And, a lot of it's going to be high level stuff, just the tactics and ideas and stuff that I want you to be able to take away today that you can implement it in your business right away. But at the same time, I'm always willing to do a side off one-on-one with someone that we can look more specific at your specific business and how it could impact your business. And I've got some offers at the end I'm going to talk about that will be some free offers on how we can help you prepare and a few other things. So stick to the end and I'll make those available to you. So just, again, I told you my name's Jeff Heggie. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. In 2005, I founded a company called Kodiak Mountain Stone. I'm still the CEO of that company. And then a lot of my focus right now is also on my business development coaching. Today's game plan, I just want to provide some actionable strategies to help increase your leads, help you double your conversions, and grow your revenues and profits. So everyone that signed up for this, you would have got a book emailed to you, a PDF book or brochure. And I just want to use that so as we go through the different topics in that book, that you can look at each one and you'll notice the little chart on it, and you can relate what the relevance is to your specific business and your proficiency of where you're actually at. And so as you look at them, you'll be able to realize where you're going to be able to benefit of putting some focus. So really the game plan today is help you create a map of where you need to go. And I think everyone's probably, excuse me, everyone's probably heard of the 80-20 rule. And really, it's a lot of what I focus on when it comes to marketing for businesses is there's 20% of what we do every day that generates 80% of the profits that we have. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is what those 20% things are that we can focus on and get some improvements. And so the 5 areas I want to focus on are the more leads, the more conversions, more transactions, higher prices, and more profits. And what I'll show you, and I'm going to just run through some case studies of people that I have worked with and some of my colleague coaches have worked with, and show how small incremental changes in each of these areas can actually produce some really big results. And so that's what the goal is today. And as I'm going, if anyone's online has any thoughts or questions or comments, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and just interrupt me, or there's a function on here, you can raise your hand if you see that. But the first thing I mentioned how small incremental changes can produce big results in these areas. And what I want to show you, just an example company here, a company that's getting 1,000 leads a month and can convert 25% of them is creating 250 sales in a month. And out of those customers, if they can get 10 transactions per year with that customer at a price of $100, you're generating a revenue of $250,000. If we're at 25% gross margins, then that's $62,500 a year that you're making in your gross profits. So what I want to show is, small 10% increase in each of these areas. And obviously, as I work with clients, we don't do exactly 10% in more leads, 10% in more conversions, and down the line that way. They're kind of all over the board, but it gives you this will just give you an idea of what a small change can do. So if we look at each one of these areas and increase it by 10%, our leads go up to 1,100, our conversions to 27.5, that equates to 303 sales. If our transactions goes up to 11 per customer and our prices goes up to 110, our revenues jump to 366,025. If our profits climb 10%, then this 62,500 in gross profits jumps to over 100,000. But the interesting part here is how much it can really grow if you're looking at bigger figures like 50%. And so just to go through these numbers really quick, if each of those areas increases 50%, we're going from 62.5 up to almost $500,000 in gross profit. Now, obviously, if you're looking at this thinking, yeah, that's easy to put on paper, but to actually increase my numbers by 50%, it's pretty difficult. What I want to show you in some of these things that I'm going to go through today is in a lot of areas, it's actually pretty easy to get those jumps if you do it right. And so let me just get to the next slide. So looking at these 5 areas, what I want, as I mentioned, I'm going to go through some case studies just to show you some that we have actually worked with. And so looking at the fundamentals of marketing to begin with, first thing you have to do, you have to have something good to say about your company, your product. So basically your market dominating position. And then you've got to be able to say it well. So you've got to have some compelling marketing. And then obviously in marketing, it's say it often. So you've got to have the repetition. If you know who Dan Kennedy is, when he talks marketing, he says there's 3 basic things that you need. You've got to have your market, you've got to have your message, and you've got to have your media. And so we're going to go through a little bit of that in these case studies and show how we can take the market, message, and media, and we've made some significant changes for these clients. And so the secret to marketing is you must enter the conversation that's taking place in the head of the prospect. And that revolves around 2 things: that there's a problem that they have that they don't want, or there's a result that they want and they don't have. And so that's where we put a lot of our focus on. And that equates into something we call the conversion equation formula, which is interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. And so when we look at things like websites and stuff, that's probably one of our biggest tools that we can use to help people increase their sales and marketing, leads and conversions, because pretty much every business has a website now, but a lot of them, you know, they pour all this money into developing a website and then they don't look at it for 5 years. And, you know, if you look at your leads, one, could you tell me how many leads you've had in the last year? And of those leads, how many did you convert? And then if you look at your website alone, how many leads did your website generate and how many did it convert? And most people I work with, in fact, probably close to 100%, can't tell me those numbers. And so what we do on the websites is we put this pattern into play so that we can make them more useful. So the interrupt, for example, is your headline, and it's got to address what we talked about, the problem the prospects has and they don't want. The engage will be your subheadline, and it's got to address the results the prospects want but don't have. When we go to the educate, that's going to focus on what it is that you make, what's your market dominating position. And then the offer is your compelling and irresistible offer. So, and then again, going back with Dan Kennedy's stuff, is it's saying it often, you know, making sure that we're repeating it so that we can stay in the mind of our customers. So looking at what I want to do is I want to start with our first case study, which was a cosmetic surgeon, and he specialized in mommy makeovers. So his focus target customer was mothers who had children, and he performed cosmetic surgery. But what he was doing, he was using Facebook ads, the pay-per-click, and he was generating 35 leads per month. And so I'll show you what his ad was. And it's this here on the screen. It's nurture the body that will provoke true envy. And it really, if you look at enter the conversation taking place in the head of the prospect, it's not really a fit for what he was who he was trying to target. So again, when we apply the market message and media from Dan Kennedy, our market, as I had mentioned, was women 35 to 45 with 2 or more kids. And this is how we changed the message. Want the body that you had before you had kids. And I think you'll agree that that's a lot more specific to that target market that he was looking at. And then the media, we stayed with the pay-per-click and we ran some others as well. So from that, I don't think I told you the results of the first marketing he was doing, but I think I bring it up here in a second. But from that, he generated 300 to 500 leads per month when he was running these, which was over 1,000% increase in leads from what he was doing before. And so going back to my calculator, shows you there, even just looking at leads and nothing else, that, you know, saying 50% increase sounds huge, but it's very doable when you look at these things. I'll talk more about that case study as we go through some of these things and show you some of the leads that he did and how we increased it that much. But I also want to show you a chiropractor who specialized in fibromyalgia diagnosis. So he was generating 3 leads per month with a newspaper flyer, which was this one right here. And his market was women 18 to 85 who had massive pain throughout their body. The message that we changed it to was, if you're misdiagnosed, you're suffering needlessly. And what we did is we offered a free report. And this is something I'll talk about later, but I want to emphasize the importance of offering value in a free report and stuff like that, rather than just offering information. But we'll get into that more as we go on. And then he used TV, Facebook, those sort of things in that. So in that, in a 4-day turnaround, he generated 137 leads, which from what he was doing with his newspaper before that, which was 3 leads per month, was a 4,500% lead increase. Then the last one I want to talk about in this case study was a daycare. This daycare, they did a mail out for their registration, and they mailed out to everybody in a 5-mile radius of where they were. And out of all those mail outs they did, they got 0 calls on it. So when we put our system into place with them, we took some of the things that this daycare was already doing. And one of the focuses they had was getting kids by the time they entered kindergarten to be able to read at a grade 1 level. And so we used that in our marketing. And so the market was parents who wanted their kids educated. The message: we guarantee your child will be reading at a first grade level prior to entering kindergarten. And we used networking, target direct mail, radio, TV, and Facebook. And so here's an example of what we used, and it showed that they had the 22 Dell stations and talked about. Well, the result was amazing. Generated 58 leads in the first week, and I'll show you in a bit why, but they had to stop running the ad because within that first week, they filled every spot. So I'm going to go into detail more with each of those case studies, but in the workbook that you received, if you want to look at that, the secret to generating more leads, if you want to look in that, is the marketing, message, and media. And so that's really the focus of what we're trying to do to generate leads. And then you can look, it's got the graph there, you can look at what's the relevance to yourself and what's your existing proficiency. And so take a look at that, and the things that are written in that booklet will be beneficial for you as well. But hopefully as we pull all these together and show you how the different case studies use different areas of this marketing and pulled it together, you can see how it can benefit you in your own business. So on the next one, we look at more conversions. And so getting those leads, how do we take more of those leads and turn them into sales? And again, just like when I ask customers, how many leads a month are they getting, or how many leads did they get last year? Asking a customer what their conversion rate is usually another blank stare that they don't know. And so that's one thing that as you start focusing on it, you can really excel in it. And we've got a lot of different ways that we work on these things, but one thing that we look at a lot is downselling. And that's offering a product. If a customer doesn't want something, offer a lower price product, because a lot of times what will happen is as long as you can get them as a customer, you're going to have future opportunities with them as well. And the one I'm not going to go into a lot today, but if anyone wants to talk about it more, they can contact me, is one that it's actually one of my favorite things, is the drip campaign. And that's something where you can keep a customer tied in with you so that when it comes time that they are ready to buy, that you're going to be the go-to. And this is something that I think is one of our most effective tools that we have, but we'll go into that in some of our one-on-one sessions if you'd like to hear more about it. But secret to converting more leads is making a compelling offer. And I talked about websites earlier, and I think if you look at most websites, you're going to see something like this one on the screen. And really, what is the offer? To me, it's a glorified Yellow Page ad. And, it's how do you contact them? It's got their phone number, get your free retirement consultation. It's got their phone number in another place. It's got a form you can fill out to ask questions or request an appointment. And here's another example, exact same thing. And I think the more and more websites that you'll look at, you'll realize this. And this is why we have such a hard time knowing how many leads we get and how many conversions we can get from a website. And the problem with that is this here shows why. Because out of all of your customers that come to your website, there's really a small percentage that we call now buyers, and it's usually less than 1%. Through the spectrum of a buyer's journey, you've got the future buyers that are looking at the benefits of ownership, like why should they buy? The soon-to-be buyers that are looking at objections, why shouldn't I buy? And then you've got the now buyers who are deciding who they're going to buy from at that point. So the problem is, if that's the case, if they're not a now buyer, you don't even know if they're on your website if they come and leave. And so that's where we put a lot of focus on this part, which, including what I mentioned with the drip campaign, it can be very effective. But what most of them are looking for is information. And that's where I think most people are missing out, is by offering clients information, you're able to get a lot more out of them. So we'll look again at the cosmetic surgeon, and looking at their existing site, they've got contact information, free consultation. Again, looking at something like that, free consultation is basically meaning a sales call. And even on their other page, they had the exact same thing. And so that's what we call tactical marketing, when you're specifically focused on that 1% of now buyers. But unless you're offering a product, pizza or something, where it's not a process of figuring out when you're going to buy, it's just you're ordering. It's a lot different marketing that way. So going back to the cosmetic surgeon who was doing the mommy makeovers, we were looking at 35 leads a month is what he was doing on Facebook, what I told you earlier. What I didn't tell you is his conversion rate, which was actually 0. So out of those 35 leads a month he was getting off Facebook, he was getting 0 conversions out of that. And again, looking at his website, it basically gave his phone number and that was it. So now going to what we asked him to do, you can see that we created a squeeze page. And what a squeeze page is like a web page, but it's not part of their web page. So there's no other options on it. You're either filling it out, using what's on there, or you're going to exit the page and then we can have other things pop up at that time. But here, what he was doing, they had the free eye-opening report. And so this one, what I like about these free reports is you can offer tremendous value to a client without being intrusive. They don't feel like they're getting a sales pitch out of it. It's non-threatening. And so they can go ahead and fill that out. And all you're asking for is their name and email address. But what that does is it allows you to stay in touch with them. It allows you to create drip campaigns and things like that. And so rather than coming on your site, and if they're not a now buyer, they're gone. If you can offer them valuable information like this, then you can keep them with you. And so doing that, plus if you look at what we did with the interrupt, engage, educate, and offer, we changed the interrupt to I want the body I had before kids. The engage was time to get rid of the problem areas on your hips, thighs, and tummy. And then we went into all the information with the educate and offer. But again, the free report is one of the most important things that people need to be able to get value from you. And then it's going to give you the ability to stay in touch with them. So looking at it, they offer the free report, answers about the makeover, all those different things. And the results, the previous conversion rate was 0. The report we had out of everyone coming to the site, we had 67% of them requesting the free report. Out of that, 8% turned into patients. So for this specific surgeon, the ad that was generating 300 to 500 prospects per month, his 67% conversion rate was getting 268 new leads. So that was 268 people asking for the free report. Of those 268, he was converting 8%, generating 32 new clients. For him, cosmetic surgeon, this was a $600,000 in monthly revenue increase. So shows in that industry how much of a difference that little bit can make. Going back to the chiropractor, same thing. Websites showing, schedule an appointment, phone number, address, those sort of things. We changed his to be more specific to offer the interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. Offered the free report, and it made all the difference for him as well. So TV ad was generating 137 leads in 4 days. The free report, they got 37 patients out of that at $2,500 a piece for revenue of $92,000. The case study of the daycare, again, websites with just a phone number, address. This one that we're focusing on, the educating the kids and teaching them to read, they put those things into play. And as I mentioned earlier, they generated 58 leads in the first week. 47 of those applied for 18 openings that they had. So they only ran the ad for that first week because they ran out of spots. So again, looking at the buyer's journey, you've got to be able to hit all 3 of those, the future buyers, the soon-to-be buyers, and the now buyers. and information is the way that we're going to do that. So again, you can see how just little incremental changes in these areas can create such big changes in the final numbers that you're looking at. So again, going to conversions, if you look in your booklet, the secret to converting leads is creating a compelling offer. And again, look at what's the relevance of this strategy to your business and your estimated proficiency to execute it successfully. So when you have a chance, take a look at that and do it specifically for your business. Hope I'm not going through this too quick. I want to make sure to be able to get through all of it before our 1 hour deadline of what I'm trying to stick to. So the other thing that we're looking at next is transactions. So when you're looking at transactions, it's how do you increase the transactions per customer? And when we do that, we look at upselling and cross-selling are the fastest way to do it, and offering more products or services to your customers. So when we're looking at upselling, it's McDonald's. Would you like to supersize that? When we're looking at cross-selling, it's offering other products or services that complement what you're buying. And there's actually a study that 34% of prospects will buy additional products or services at the time if they're asked to do so. And as I was going through this, I was thinking about some examples that I could use. And, I talked about my company, Kodiak Mountain Stone, and, offering cross-selling. When someone buys stone, we offer a mortar and stuff like that. But another example I thought I wanted to share, because I think it's got a concept in it that you really need to remember, is it was something that happened to me. Someone that did this to me and made me realize it. So I was in the market for a new suit, and I went in and had a custom-made suit, and great suit. And after that, I was sold also on new cufflinks, a new tie, new shoes, and new socks, which compared to the price of the suit were quite small. But then afterwards, when I looked at it and looked at what I paid for the tie, what I paid for the cufflinks, looked at them individually and thought, would I have walked in that store and paid that price for those items individually? And no, I mean, they weren't, they weren't something I needed, but for what I paid for the suit, they didn't seem like a real, they were expensive, but they didn't seem as expensive of a product. And so that's something to remember as you're cross-selling too, is it's important the order that you do it in. You don't, and I guess that's the difference between cross-selling and upselling. Upselling, you're offering a higher grade or higher quality product, and it's probably going to be more expensive. But on the cross-selling part, when you offer something at a lower price, when the initial purchase was a bigger price, it can make the lower price item seem lower. And that's what we're going to actually use in the example here, is an auto service center that was doing oil changes. And they sold these coupons where you could basically come in and get free oil changes. But what it did was gave them the opportunity for their upsells and cross sells. And I'm sure any of you that have gone into the get your oil changed, they're going to be coming out and talking to you about fluid levels, your air filters and stuff like that. But that's what they did, is they were offering things. Actually, these ones were free oil changes, but then they would make their money on the upsells and cross sells. Another example for that is a dental service that we were working with a dentist, and they were, they've got their basic services that they do, the exams and the cleanings and stuff, but where they were making their money, the vast majority of it was on their cosmetic services, their root canals, their crowns, fillings, braces, those sort of things. And so we looked at what are some of the things that would have people leave a dentist or not go to a dentist at all. And 85% of it was lack of medical insurance or coverage of it. Or sorry, I should say 85% of the population have medical insurance, but only 50% have dental insurance. And so that was a big part of why people weren't going to the dentist or weren't just seeking out a dentist to go to. And so the opportunity that we put together with this dentist was to actually offer something to those clients that didn't have it, didn't have coverage. They offered a routine exam and cleaning for the same price as what the copay was for most insurance plans. And then what they did was they upsold all their additional services. So they weren't making money on the routine exam and cleaning, but where they had the opportunity to make the money was on their upsells. So looking at your book again, the secret to more transactions, upsell and cross-sell strategies. And then look again at what's the relevance to the strategy to your business and your proficiency. All right, sorry, again, we're going through this fast, but I've got 20 minutes to get through a lot more work. So hopefully we're okay with that. I will have the replay if I go too fast on any of it. And I am open to talk with any of you one-on-one about some of these strategies as well. So higher prices, this is actually something that, I'm not going to really talk about anything in here that's going to be new or surprising to anyone. But what it is as you start looking at the figures, figuring out some of the numbers and stuff, it really makes you look at things differently and realizing why you should do some things and why you shouldn't do other things. So the key to increasing price is value. And one of the best ways to do that is bundling, so that when you're working with someone, you're not comparing apples to apples, because so many people think that all prospects do is shop on price, which in reality a lot of them do, but it's only because business owners give them no other option. When everyone's offering the exact same thing, what's the only thing that differentiates products? And that's price. So for an example, if you go into a store and there's two tables of apples, one table's at 50 cents, one table's at $1, and they're the exact same apples, which are you going to buy? You're going to buy the 50 cents. So what differentiates them? You've got to look at it so they're not the same. If one of them said organic above it, that would explain why it's $1, and that's going to attract some customers. So that's what we want to look at, is what can we do in bundling and those sort of things to eliminate the price competition. So we worked with a company that builds sunrooms, and most that we were looking at, this is how they deal with it. They offer big coupons, $2,000 off. Here's what we had our customer do. They offered a $6,200 bonus package with their sunrooms for free. So how does that compare? How can this be better than $2,000 off? Well, the reality is what they had done is they had worked with the furnishing store they had agreed to buy a certain amount of product every year at a wholesale price of $1,600 per set. But the value of it was $6,200. So they could go to their customers saying, we're offering you this free $6,200 bonus package, but it's only costing them $1,600, where the other guy is offering $2,000 off. So they're actually offering more value, but it's costing them less. And so in your workbook, again, you can say the secret to higher prices, implementing a bundling strategy. A great example of this is a home builder we worked with, that they were able to do a similar deal with a supplier where they did security system, entertainment system. I don't remember everything off the top of my head, but it retailed at a value of, I think it was about $23,000. But because they installed it all themselves as they were building the houses, they were able to do it at a much cheaper price and offer a $23,000 bonus for, I think, $6,000 or something like that. So when you can bundle things like that, you can offer a lot more value without the cost. All right, so more profits. There's two major ways to increase your overall profitability, and that's increase revenue and decrease your costs. So increasing revenue, that's by raising your prices. That's option one. And option two, decrease costs of your business by cutting labor costs or something like that. So again, easiest way to increase the overall profitability is raise your prices. But most business I ask, when was the last time you raised your prices? we never have, or we haven't for years. And I ask why, and it's usually that they're scared that all their customers will leave them. And so again, you've got to start offering the value so that it's not so price competitive. But I also want to go through a few things that show you the scenarios if you did increase your pricing. So let's say that you sell a product for $100 and it's got a 30% margin, and you just decide to increase it by 10%. So the new sell price is $110. And I think this is where most business owners don't get it, that they don't look at these numbers and realize the impact that it can have. So will that 10% increase really make you lose a lot of customers? You will have some leave probably, but what extent are you going to have them leave? So you're making an additional $10, which is all profit. So that's a 33% increase in profit. So for your business to make $1,000 in profit, selling your widgets at $100, you'd need to sell 33.3 of them. You increased it by 10%, so you're selling it at 110 now. To make that $1,000 in profit, you only need to sell 25. So even to break even, you would have to lose 25% of your customers over that 10% increase. That's not going to happen. So you've really got to look at the benefits of increasing your pricing and what it does for your business versus what it's going to do for your customers. And obviously you're looking to add value, and obviously you need to test it and make sure you're doing it right, and compare what else is happening in your market. But that is going to be your fastest and easiest way to generate more revenue. So again, going back to your booklet, you can write, the secret to higher prices is to raise them. And then look at the relevance this is to you, as well as your proficiency at it. Now, the other part is stop discounting. And just like this example I gave you of what happens when you raise prices, I'm going to go through what happens when you discount. And so I'm going to just skip ahead a bit here, and I want to be able to show you. So this says it right here. It says, if some businesses discount their price by a mere 10%, they now have to sell 50% more just to break even. So this is the one I want to show you. If you sell it again for $100 at a 30% profit margin, you're making $30 per item. That means the cost base of your item is $70. Regardless of what you're charging, it's costing you $70. So if you discount it by 10% and start selling it for $90, you're still paying $70 for it. So instead of making $30 profit, you're making $20. Now, to make $1,000 profit selling at $100, you need to sell 33.3 of them. But discounted at 10%, you need to sell 50 of them to make that same amount, that $1,000. That means you have to sell 50% more items to get to that. Now, the problem is, how many times have you done it that you've actually only done a 10% discount when you do something like that? The reality is, most times you see a discount and it's 20 to 40%. And there's actually a study that said that discounting doesn't actually impact a prospect's buying decision unless the discount is 40% or more. So the big thing about it is stop discounting. You've got to be able to find a way to add value so that you're not playing this game and having to sell 50% more just to make up for a 10% discount. Again, going back to the booklet, like I had said about increasing pricing, stop discounting. So take a look at that, its relevance and your proficiency. And now you can really see what these small incremental changes, how it's possible to increase them 50% or more, but also even what a slight 10% increase in each one of these can do. Just looking at time, there are a couple more things in the book, and what I want you to look at on those, one is the licensing and franchising. And the biggest thing when I've worked with clients on this part is putting this structure, these systems into place so that they have something that they can replicate. And that's something, if you ever need assistance with that, we can talk about it. I do have contacts with experts that can help with that. But going into licensing and franchising is, once you've got a good system in place, is a great opportunity to expand your income that way. Now, the other one, and it's the first one in the book, is the goal setting. And it's actually surprising how many business owners don't do this with their teams. And just putting the right strategies and goals in place has such a major outcome. And now when you're able to look at all these things we've talked about today and figure out what the strategy is for your team, and then start setting goals with your team, that's when you're going to be the most effective. But what you've got to first be able to do is look at each of these areas and figure out what it is that's going to specifically impact what you can do with your team and your business to make that happen. So, like I said at the beginning of the call, we're in a tough time right now. But when we come out of this, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and it's going to be the people that have prepared themselves and set themselves up for success that can really take advantage of that. And so now is the best time to be planning. Now is the best time to be looking at strategies like this and saying, how am I going to implement this into my company? How can I take maybe pricing and apply it to my company, and what will the impacts be? How can I start measuring my leads? What do I need to do with my website so that I can get more leads out of it, so I know what's happening with the people that aren't the now buyers and I can stay in touch with them? One of the things too, in my company, Kodiak Mountain Stone, when we talked about some of our price increases, one of the pushbacks I got was about one of our customers that bought quite a bit of product from us, that my guys knew that if we did the price increase, he would probably leave. And we did it, and he did. But he was also the most demanding client. He was the one that wasn't loyal, that caused a lot of problems, and he was the one that we were always chasing on his account too. So you've also got to look at things and decide, what's the impact it's going to have, and is it worth the trade-off? Because a lot of times it will, because maybe a client is buying a lot of product, but in the end, their profitability is a lot lower because of the different things that you have to deal with outside of that. So those are all things you've got to take into consideration. And again, as I was talking about the price increases, it's not something that you just jump in and throw a 20% price increase and say, well, I heard it here and I guess we should do this. You've got to test the market. You've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to figure out the right one. But the most important is adding that value and trying to make it so it's not an apples to apples, that you're not identical to your competition. So looking at that, there are a few things that I just want to point out and offer some services. On jeffheggie.com, I've got a new sign up right at the top of the website for a free momentum video series. It's the one I talked about at the beginning, talking about some of the mindset and tools that you can use that'll help you as we're trying to get out ahead of this and be at the front of the line coming out of this. There is on-demand business and marketing learning on the website, just some $9 courses that you can take a course on creating in your market dominating position or different things like that. The e-learning marketing system, it is a great 52-week course, business course on marketing, on a lot of strategies, different things. Starts right from some very basic things, creating your market dominating position, going through an elevator pitch, all those different things, to some more in detail things through the end of the course. And that program is a $97 a month or $9.97 a year program, but it's one that you can put your team on it, and you can do some great things with that. Our Inner Circle Mastermind, it is an awesome group of people that we have right now that does some amazing things. And what I love about that is people can come onto our calls that we have every Wednesday and they can come with an issue or a problem and talk about it, and other people within the call that are in different industries, different backgrounds, can give their ideas and feedback and help solve those problems. And if anyone's been a part of a mastermind, you'll know the value that you can get out of these. And this is a great opportunity to be a part of that Inner Circle Mastermind. We've got group coaching, we've got one-on-one coaching, and then also on at the bottom of the page is a free business breakthroughs ebook that I have there. But as I had mentioned also at the beginning of the call, I would love the opportunity to go through some individual cases and do some one-on-one breakdowns on a few of these strategies and get into some more specifics. So one of the things, as I mentioned, is I have the opportunity to contribute to the Six Figure Coach magazine and use some of my case studies. And so if any of you would like to do that and have me sit down with you 45 minutes and go through some of these strategies through our software and how that would impact your overall revenue, and if you would allow me to do that and use that as a case study that I could use in one of my articles, I'm all open to that, to give you this information that you could hopefully take away, implement right away, and benefit from, and have that free session. So if that's the case, please let me know and we can work on that. We can schedule a time. There's actually, where is it here? I will be sending it out, but this link right here is a link to my calendar, and we can set up a time to do this and talk about it. And so I would love the opportunity to do that with you. And I will, I'm going to send an email out to all those that were on the call. And obviously there's a lot more that aren't on with us, so I'll be sending the replay out to them. But you'll have this link as well as another link just to a feedback form, and let me know what you thought of this.